Before everything changed, I had a routine. I'd go to bed around midnight, the neighborhood settling into silence around me, the kind of quiet you stop noticing once you get used to it. I used to think my street was the safest place in the world. Kids played outside until dusk, neighbors walked their dogs, people waved politely. It was normal, predictable. Until the night I woke up at 2:14 a.m., thirsty, half asleep, and not alone. Because that was the first time I ever saw him. I remember glancing out my window without thinking, just a casual glance at the streetlight, and then stopping dead. There, under the street lamp, stood a man, still, facing my house, looking straight toward my window as if he'd been waiting for me to wake up. He was tall, slim, wearing a faded gray hoodie and worn-out jeans. Nothing about him was unusual, except for the way he didn't move. Not even a twitch, like a statue. Then, very slowly, he lifted one hand and waved. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't playful. It was this slow, deliberate, almost mechanical wave. I froze. My instincts didn't know whether to scream, hide, or pretend I didn't see him. For some reason, maybe shock, maybe stupidity, I raised my own hand and waved back. And the instant I did, he lowered his arm, turned around, and calmly walked away into the darkness. I told myself it was nothing, a weird coincidence, someone drunk or lost. But deep down, I knew it wasn't random. The next night, I stayed up later, curious. Part of me wanted to prove it was all in my head. But right as my clock hit 2:14 a.m., I felt this cold drop in my stomach. I walked to the window, slowly, not wanting to look, not wanting to be right. And there he was. Same man, same spot, same slow wave. This time I didn't wave back. I just stared. He held the wave for several seconds, hands slightly trembling, and then he walked away. Night 3, he returned again, and then night 4, and night 5. It became a routine I couldn't escape. Every night at 2:14 a.m., he appeared, always in the exact same spot, under the exact same street lamp. Each night I watched, I felt this weight settling deeper into my chest, like the rhythm of his visits was tightening around my life, turning into a ritual neither of us asked for. By the 10th night, I wasn't sleeping at all. I'd lie awake with my heart pounding, waiting for the moment I'd have to pull back the curtain and see him standing there again, waving. It was around the 10th night that everything shifted. His wave wasn't slow anymore. It wasn't calm. It was frantic, urgent, like he was trying to warn me about something or signal me to do something. But the worst part wasn't the wave. It was his eyes. He wasn't looking at me. Not really. His gaze kept darting, not at my window, but to the right, toward the driveway across the street. Every few seconds he'd glance there, then snap his eyes back to my window, then to the driveway again, like something or someone was standing just out of sight. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the man was unstable. Maybe he was hallucinating. Maybe he was waving at someone entirely. But the fear on his face? That wasn't delusion. It was recognition. And a warning. That night, I set up my phone against the window to record him. I needed proof, or maybe validation, that I wasn't losing my mind. And when I watched the footage the next morning, my blood ran cold. The camera made one thing painfully clear. He wasn't waving at me. His hand was angled away from my window toward the gap beside the driveway across the street. The footage showed his eyes tracking something in that darkness. Not once did his gaze meet my window. He wasn't waving to me. He was waving past me. On the 20th night, I waited again. 2:14 a.m. Nothing. No man. No wave. No sign he had ever been there. I should have felt relieved. Instead, my entire body tensed. For the first time in days, the street felt wrong. Empty in the way a room feels empty after someone has just stepped out of it. I stared for a full minute. And then, at 2:17 a.m., I nearly jumped out of my skin. Someone began pounding on my front door. Not knocking, not tapping, pounding, hard enough to rattle the frame. I froze where I stood. The waving man was gone, so whoever was at my door, it wasn't him. I hid behind my bed and called the police. When the officer arrived, he listened carefully until I got to the part about the man waving every night. His whole demeanor changed. He leaned closer and asked quietly, "Where exactly was he standing?" I pointed to the street lamp. The officer sighed. "I knew it," he said. "You're not the only person on this street to see him." My stomach dropped. He explained that the man didn't live nearby, but he'd been spotted watching the same driveway from multiple angles for nearly a month. The driveway across from my house, the same one he kept glancing at. The officer walked outside and shined his flashlight toward the driveway. That's when he found them. Footprints. Fresh ones. They led from the side of the driveway, across the street, up to my house, and stopped beneath my bedroom window, right where I stood every night watching the waving man. The window screen was slightly bent outward, not broken, but lifted just enough to test if it would come off quietly. The officer knelt down and examined it. When he looked back up at me, his face was tense. He said, "The man wasn't waving at you. He was waving at whoever was hiding near your window, warning them he could see them." And then he added, "Tonight, they realized he wasn't there." Backup arrived, but whatever had been there was gone. All they found was a loose fence panel in my backyard and disturbed grass leading behind it, like someone had slipped out only moments earlier. I don't think I've ever felt sleep the same way since. The street still looks peaceful. The neighborhood still smiles. But now, every night, I check the clock when it gets close to 2 a.m. And sometimes, when the night is especially quiet, I can't help staring at the empty spot under the street lamp, waiting, wondering. If he ever comes back, the man who waved at me every night, should I wave back again?